going on again there, everybody? Brandon here, coming to you at the gallery in the studio today. And so I have another painting video on, this time, a small canvas Bluebird painting here. I'm going to be doing a series of small canvas paintings here coming up. A lot of stuff on either 5x7 or 7x9, mostly size canvases. So this time we got a real-time walkthrough on this particular painting. Let's have a look. Alright, so what I have here is a 7x9 canvas that I'm going to be painting on, just to give you an idea of the size that I've got happening here. And what I do on most of my bird paintings, I sketch in here, pencil sketch of what my bird is going to be looking like in terms of, you know, the direction it's facing and everything I'm going to do in terms of where I'm putting colors. So I'm painting a bluebird here, and so this area in here is where that more burnt orange kind of color is going to be, the white belly, the wings, feathers, all that jazz. So what I would suggest doing, if you want, is creating yourself a pencil sketch of the bird you want to do. And you can do this a number of ways. You can freehand them. You can, you know, get some reference photos to get an image that you like, the way the bird is positioned. You can use some tracing paper or some variation thereof to get an image put on canvas that you're comfortable with. And once you do that, then you can get started. So I'm going to do the background stuff around this bird first. And I'm going to, my fancy palette here, I'm going to come into, this is some Ivory Black, some raw Umber, some grass green, some Phthalo Blue, some Quinacridone Magenta there. And create kind of a dark background here. It's got a little bit of color variation going on. Do have a little bit of titanium white on here as well. So I'm going to utilize a lot of this magenta color with some blue in it to kind of purple things up some. And then a touch of this black. That way this will get kind of grayed out a little bit as well. Maybe a hint of titanium white in there. And that's what I'm going to start with. And create this purple looking and I want to darken that up so it's not quite so purple, so I'm going to add the black back into my mix. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to add a touch of that green, just a little bit of everything going on. That's a little better. Now I'm not looking for uniformity. I'm just putting some color down here. And I know it's not real easy to see on the camera here, but this background that I'm putting in here is mostly a really deep dark purple, but there is some redder magenta areas showing through and a little bit of green coming through in some areas as well. So if you looked at this in person, there is a little more variety going on here than just dark purple. Now that I have the background finished, I'm going to start on the bird itself, and like all of my other bird projects, what I do is I fill in each area with the darkest value I think that color is going to have for that particular spot. So down in here we'll do a real dark gray for the white area. We'll do a really dark burnt orange kind of to brown for here, and a dark blue for the areas of the face and feathers that are blue. So I'm going to start first with a really dark shadowed blue color for underneath the wing back here. I'm going to just draw the feet, the legs and the feet in here where they're going to end up with just some dark color here. And then as I go along with doing the rest of these feathers on the wing and on the body, again, it's just a matter of putting in the darkest tone, shaded shadow areas of what I think that color in that area is going to be. So I'm putting in a dark blue in all of this area that will end up being blue blue feathers. More dark blue down here for the tail, and then the beak itself here I'm just going to do in some gray and brown tones here, a little bit lighter gray on the top of the beak where the light reflection is going to be a little darker on the bottom. And now for the lower part of the body here on the front, I'm going to do just a really dark gray value. It's going to be my shade shadow color basically for putting the white over the top of. And then the upper part here, we're going to go with a darker, basically a burnt orange kind of color here that I'm mixing some yellow ochre in with just a touch of red, maybe a little bit of raw umber in here to darken it up. Now I'm going to start down here on the tail, and all I'm doing here is putting in now some lighter blue values over top of that darker color that we laid down so I can highlight these feathers a little bit. And I'm going to put a little bit of a leading edge here on the top left feather here of a little brighter highlight just to show that's where maybe some backlight highlight is coming from. And it's essentially the same process now to highlight out this wing along the back and the top of the head and the face. It's just putting in some lighter shades of blue, and then the last touch of highlight with a little bit of titanium white mixed in to really brighten up some areas where the light would be reflecting off the most. And now the upper part of the chest here, I'm going to come in with multiple passes of some lighter color, mainly yellow ochre, maybe a hint of red mixed into it, and a final pass with some yellow ochre and just a touch of titanium white, and then just keeping the brush strokes really short and compact to create that feather texture. And then the lower part of the body here, I also do the same thing, bringing in a couple of different passes of a lighter gray value and then ending up with some almost pure white highlights as the last pass. Again, keeping these brush strokes really short and compact to create that feather texture. And then at each pass that you highlight on top of, you're not looking for full coverage of that paint. You're just mainly hitting certain areas and places to create that different texture, feather texture look. This process of detailing out the face is just a smaller brush here to get some highlights in around this blue color on the top of the head and around the face, keeping it darker around the eye, and then the eye itself is just mostly some black with a little bit of highlight of the kind of sheen there on top of the eye. And then the beak here, we're going to do some detailing with lighter gray along the top, more darker brown coming in along the bottom, and then highlighting a couple of the areas to make it look more like a beak. A small touch of yellow here at the back end of the beak that these bluebirds tend to have to kind of finish that out. Now going to create a branch that this bird is sitting on. I'm basically just going to draw a branch across here, starting mostly with nothing but raw umber and just a hint of black to create a really dark looking branch here. And then I'm going to come back in here on top of it and highlight it out with a mixture of some raw umber, a little bit of sap green, and just a touch of titanium white to lighten it up a little bit. Small, kind of half circular strokes starting from the top down to kind of create that rounded looking branch and give it a little bit of highlight. And then the last thing I'm going to add here is some kind of little flower, using mostly magenta, a touch of raw umber to darken it down a little bit, initially to put a background color down. And then a couple of highlight passes here with the magenta, a little bit of titanium white, just to kind of give the idea that we have a flower petal here. And adding a couple of leaves is the finishing touch, just a little bit of dark green here with a little bit of lighter green highlight on top. I'm going to give it one last pass here with a little bit of brighter white highlights mixed in with this yellow ochre just on this upper part of the chest of the bird. And then we will finish out these legs. The legs and the feet here is just a matter of putting a little bit of color on the top here. I'm a little bit of raw umber with a touch of red in it to redden it up just a little bit, and a little bit of titanium white to finish off the highlights on the tops of these legs and the feet, these claws that come around the branch. And maybe one more little touch of yellow around the front of the beak. And then after that, I'm going to call it a finished product. So hope you've got a bird here that you're happy with. And until next time, happy painting, everybody.